So the initial question, why aren't your disciples fasting? Yeshua plugs himself right into the opportunity to explain. Well, he doesn't really explain it, but he hints at it. I am the long-awaited Messiah. I am the long-awaited bridegroom. My Father is setting up the wedding, and Israel is the bride, and I'm the bridegroom. And since I'm here with you right now, right, the promises of the prophets given to Israel of old are now being fulfilled before your very eyes. And here I am. You've been waiting for me for so long. Here I am. Why would you fast? Can the wedding guests mourn? As long as the bridegroom is with them, right? Weddings are a time for rejoicing. I'm right here. Why would you want to mourn? Why would you want to fast, right? Mourning and fasting are kind of going hand in hand. So the days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from him, right? Meaning he's alluding to the fact that he's going to suffer, die, and then return to the Father. So the bridegroom is going to be taken away from them, from the bride, Israel. And then Israel, you can fast in that time. And yes, indeed, those times came, right? So that's the initial answer to the question. And then from there, we have these two allegories, or these two parables. Okay, so that's what we're working with. As you know, from listening to my commentary, I strongly disagree with those allegories, with the historical Christian presupposition that the old is being replaced by the new. What I have come to ascertain is that rather than ripping out the old system, what Yeshua is bringing is reformation to the old. A brand new man must be born, that's true. And so I've entitled this section of my study, Old Man, New Man, and Messianic Judaism. And what we're trying to postulate, in my opinion, in my position here, is that it's not necessary to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We can still retain Judaism. We can still retain the law of Moses, the people of God, the old way of life, if you want to describe that, in keeping God's commandments and things like that. We can retain that system. We simply need to reform it from the inside out by starting with a heart change for each individual. And then from there, Yeshua is going to construct his messianic halakha, which is rooted in the commandments his Father gave him. And so rather than having the corrupt way of interpreting God's laws like the religious leaders of Yeshua's day had already done, with all their extra man-made traditions, their fences upon fences, their minutia, they're focusing on the tiny parts of the Torah and ignoring the more weightier parts of the Torah. What Yeshua is going to do is bring the people back to the pure form of his Father's laws and get them to understand that he didn't come to do away with his Father's laws, but to fulfill them and to rightly interpret them and walk them out and model them as, i.e., a life filled with the Holy Spirit, model them so that the people can imitate him as the way they should, right? He is the quintessential Jewish offspring of Abraham, son of Abraham, right? Son of God, son of man, son of God. And so he's going to demonstrate what a genuine Torah observant life really looks like. And so we can model that, right? We can walk in his footsteps knowing that as he was pleasing to the Father, then we can be pleasing to the Father if we walk the same way that he walked. And guess what, people? He didn't walk in a Torah disrespectful lifestyle. Right? He was pronomian. Remember that term we talked about last week? My good friend Caleb Haig, Tim Haig's son, has his website, pronomian.com, which means you're pro-Torah. Yeshua was pronomian. He was pro-Torah, right? He was all for keeping Torah. So was Paul, by the way. It's how one keeps the Torah. What is one's motive for keeping the Torah? Is it so that you can become righteous before God, so that you can earn brownie points with God, so that you can be better than your fellow man? Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps? No, none of that is true. The way in which you walk out Torah is by the power of the Spirit, and your motive for keeping Torah is the same two laws that Yeshua said are the most important laws of the Torah, which is love for God and love for your fellow man. And that's going to drive your Torah observance. And as long as you've got that correct motive and you're walking by the power of the Spirit, then you're going to be pleasing to God. So let's look at my commentary. Which is available on my website at tetzetorah.com, tetzetorah.com. And I've jumped all the way to the top of the commentary so you can just see some of the overview of what I want to talk about. This is part of my Torah observant Shomer Mitzvot series that I put together. It's a series on practical Messianic living and apologetics, otherwise known as Halacha, and I'm the author. And this study is entitled An Examination of Matthew 9:14 through 17. Are Judaism and Christianity incompatible with one another? And the question is posed because of the analogy that historic Christianity has brought to the table. Otherwise, I wouldn't even really be talking about this, because Jesus doesn't give us the explanation behind the parables. It's more of a common sense application if you think about it. Why aren't your disciples fasting? Duh, because it's a wedding. Why would you fast at a wedding, right? And let's use some more common sense parables. Yeshua's kind of, as I'm kind of filling in using Luke's rendering. If you've got an old piece of clothing and you want to patch it up, you go out and get a patch, but before you introduce the two together, you need to condition one of the pieces, i.e. the patch. Otherwise, when you put the two together, there's going to be a bigger rip. All right, that's common sense, right? Use your brain. The second parable that Yeshua introduces in Luke, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, is this idea of introducing new wine to old wineskins. What's going to happen if you just suddenly thrust the two together without any reconditioning of the wineskins? You're going to burst the wineskins because of the expansion of the new wine, and you're going to not only lose your new wine, but you're going to ruin the old wineskin. So what needs to take place? Some reconditioning of the wineskin needs to take place first. And so why would you have to be told this? This is common sense, people. Use your thinking brain. This is to support Yeshua's answer about why aren't my disciples fasting? Because it's a wedding. Because you don't fast at weddings, you don't mourn at weddings. Okay, so there's really common sense aspects to his application, his answer, his parables, and there's no really need, in my opinion, historically, for the Christian church to have done what they did 1900 years ago or so, which is create these allegories that are pejorative to Israel's way of thinking and way of life. So this is why the question is, are Judaism and Christianity compatible with one another?